All right, welcome back. We are game 1116, that's game programming 3 in the fall 2025 semester at Georgian, and it's week 4, part 2 of our broadcast and recording. And where we last left off, I think it was page 34, way down here, or 29. We did this part, and then we did this part, and then what we did was we tested everything out, and we'll see that there's a health bar and ammo working properly. What I want to do now is I want to start doing improvements on the drone. Okay, this is the next part that I want to do. So the first thing I want to do is I want to do the same thing with the same treatment we gave the character is what I want to give the drone. I want to make a C++ component or part to the drone right now. Okay, and let me explain this. So if I go back to Unreal Engine, and it's the same thing. I want to go to Tools, and I want to go to New C++ class. And then I want to choose character and click next. Now, you might say, like, why character? Well, remember the drone right now is a character, right? So we want to choose, I believe it's FPS enemy is what we want to call this. I'm just going to go back to the PowerPoint to confirm. FPS enemy, right? That's what we're going to call the drone, the drone's parent class, and click create class. This is just like we did last time with our when we created our FPS character. This is flashing, so it's actually saying things like, hey, do you want to reload? I want to reload all, that's for sure. I'm going to click that reload all button, which reloads the project. Unreal Engine also is going to be trying to link everything and patch everything, which it did. See the green, kind of like green message that comes here from Unreal Engine, which is good. These are all good things. And now I want to save all on the Unreal Engine editor side, close it, and then back to Visual Studio, and I want to go back to the FPS enemy.h, clean it up, just like we did before. So let's get rid of some of these boilerplate comments. We don't care about them right now. It just adds load, I would say. So close all these windows, we don't need them. So just close all that, and then do one of these. I want to move to one public section, so I'm going to grab all this and cut it and paste it into the public area, so they're all one. All right, so that's what I want to do there. Okay. Then in the FPS enemy CPP, do the same things at the very minimum. I want to do all this and do all that, and this. It's basically just cleaning it up. There you go. Save. So now that I've got this class, right, while we're here, what I want to do is do the same thing we did with the character, which is add in, after we've cleaned it up, our attribute component. Remember I said it's reusable? I want to use it again. So let's do a forward declaration. This is, again, underneath the includes. I want to do an forward declarations. Right? And we want to forward declare our class, which is U attribute component. Same thing we did last time, right? Which is our custom class we made earlier today, right? What I want to do here is I want to add in attributes just like we did before. So just underneath the protected begin play, I want to add in a U property. And this should be edit anywhere, blueprint read write. So edit anywhere, blueprint read write, category attributes, or core attributes, I think is what I called it, core attributes, just like we did before. Or here I called it attributes, that's fine. So we just call it attributes here. So I'm going to keep with the PowerPoint. And then, again, I want to use a T object pointer of type U attribute component. We're going to call this attributes as well. So that's the same thing we did last time with the character. Okay, so we added in attributes for our drone, right? Why? Because the drone is going to have health, max health, but it may not have any ammo, right? It doesn't have to have that, but for the most part, we can reuse health and max health, and that whole, not only that, but remember, attributes also has a inline function which calculates our health percentage for the drone too, if you really want to. All that same functionality. Why would I want to reinvent the wheel? I have it already, and that's why I'm adding in this component again. But just like we did before, we just can't stop here. We have to also add it in to the C++ side, right? So again, just like before, I go to this place. Underneath the area here, I'm going to put in an include, which is going to include the attribute component.h. That's our attribute component. And then in the constructor function of the drone, we're going to tie into attributes, and we're going to say that we want to create subobject, default subobject of type U attribute component, which we are going to name attributes, and save. So let's make sure everything is saved. And once you've done this, we're not going to make any other changes right now to the drone. But once we've saved this, Control F5, and what this will do is it'll launch the Unreal Editor if you were successful in editing in everything. And we should, after this launches, if it's good, what we should do is put this up on DevOps, because we just added in a brand new class. And it looks like we're good. Launched, the Unreal Editor launched again. We can check to see if that is in the C++ classes. We can see now we have 3 C++ classes. One of them called attribute component, another one is FPS character, and this new one we just made FPS enemy. Those are the 3 C++ classes we have right now. Wonderbar. All right, this is great. Let's go back to this now, and inside of Visual Studio, I'm going to go here and I'm going to put this up on DevOps. So git add dot, git commit -m, and we'll say added FPS enemy class, which is what we did. Okay, and git push. So that's the first thing. We've added the FPS enemy class. Wonderful. Keeping track of what we're doing. And now what I want to do is I want to go into the drone. So the BP underscore drone. There it is. I'm just going to hide this for a second. And then notice that at the top, the parent class for the drone at the very top is character, right? Well, again, we want to change this to our new class we just made. So I'm going to go to class settings, this little button. And then on the right, I'm going to change this from character to, if I type in FPS, FPS enemy. And when I do that and compile and save, you can see on the left, suddenly we have attributes. Isn't that wonderful? And if I click onto that, again, you can see that we have health and ammo and all that stuff on the right-hand side. So, why? Right now, when we damage the drone, we do 1 point of damage and it's gone. But what we want in the future is, I want to shoot the drone a bunch of times, right? And every single time I shoot the drone, it takes damage until it's dead, and then it blows up, right? Which is more realistic. So drone's going to have a little bit of health, right? Instead of 0. Like right now it has like no health. But we're going to give it some health. So that's the first thing. So now that we've done that, compile and save, let's test it out still. It doesn't really do anything, but we should be able to still, kind of explode the drone every single time we hit it. That's fine. But the reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to check, I want to run the game always when we make a change like that, because we've just changed a fundamental component of the game, which is the drone. And if it's going to crash, it's going to crash right here. I want to see it crash before I continue, because if I do a bunch of other stuff and I'm assuming everything is working, it might crash later, and then I'm like, oh man, it crashed, I didn't realize, it didn't work, something went wrong, but now I know everything is good, so I can continue. So back to the drone. So now that we've got this, let's just kill some of these little functions at the top here, just to make it so that we only have viewport, construction, script, and event graph. And I want to go to continue improving the drone. So one thing that we have is we can set up default values, right? As an example, notice that the default value here is 100 for health, 100 for ammo, and we also have in ammo that's 50. I want to add another attribute to the attribute component, which is damage. So that way we can keep track of how much damage we do as well. Like for example, my gun, my rifle might do a certain amount of damage, whatever. Right now it's going to be character specific, not item specific. If we were going to make an inventory, for our characters, we might make it so that the gun would have its own damage amount. So when you pick up a gun, each gun has its own attributes, range, damage, accuracy, whatever, right? But for now, we're going to keep it simple and add it into our attributes component. So in order for me to do that, and the safe way to do that would be to close off, first of all, save everything, file, save all, close off Unreal Engine again, go back to Visual Studio, and let's go into the attribute component.h and add that new property, which is going to be, I'm just going to copy paste this whole thing, this line, and instead of ammo, let's call this damage and make it a float type. There's float, and then we'll say that the default damage is like 25.0f. There we go. Okay, so there's your core attributes. I've just added in damage, right? That's what I've done. And let's control F5 again, right? See what happens. So all I'm doing is updating and then in Visual Studio and then pushing us back into Unreal Engine after I've made a change, right? Remember, we must compile before I want to see my changes. I could do a temporary compilation, kind of live coding, if I press Control-Alt F11. What that does is it temporarily allows us to see something, but it's never fully built until you do Control F5 from Visual Studio. So that's why I'm kind of giving you this workflow. Make a change in Visual Studio, you have to have Unreal Engine closed. Then Control F5, it launches Unreal Engine. Check to see if the change is there. If it is, everything is good. If it's not, something went wrong, right? So let's check that now to see that it's ready to go. It's still doing its thing. On my end, it says ready, but where's Unreal Engine? Arg. I love when it does this kind of stuff. And it's always beautiful like this on thing, because I can see that it says ready, but my Unreal Engine is like, you know, it's not open. That's weird. Well, I guess I can try Control F5 again, but I don't think it's done doing its thing. See beautiful Visual Studio, what it does? So it could be also, let's go back to build. Yeah, you can see it's still working. Control break. That means like it's still not completely done its build. And this is a problem with our, I'm sorry to say this, I really do apologize. It's a problem with our podium and all this kind of stuff. You know, it does certain things. I'm also stressing the crap out of it because I'm doing a lot and I have no patience. I should just have more patience, right? So that's what it is. So mine took a little longer because I'm on Zoom. I'm also broadcasting on YouTube, you know, whatever. Okay, so back to this then. So if I look at attributes now in the drone, I can see now I have another attribute called damage, which is pretty cool. So I have damage and all this other stuff. Great. So let's put that up on DevOps. So back to this, go to View Terminal, and we'll say git add dot, git commit -m, and we'll say added new damage property to attribute component. There we go, and git push. We're good to go there. Excellente, and now we're back to here. And so now that we've done this, then you can see that I've already done this part with you. I just kind of skipped to this, right? I want to add two more components for the drone. I want to add something called an explode radius and a sensing radius. Let's do that now, all right? So in the drone itself, again, here's a really great thing I could do. I could do all this right now in C++ if I wanted to, right? But right now, we're just going to do it here. We're going to prototype it here, and then later on, maybe this semester, we'll change it all into C++, the entire thing. So I'm going to click Add, and on the left, if I put in collision, right, you can see that there's 3 collision types that they have. And I want you to look at these as collision shapes, my friends, right? One of them is a box collision. The other one is a capsule collision, and what we want is a sphere collision, right? So that's the sphere collision, and we want to call this the sensing radius. So this is the sensing radius, right? And I also want the explode radius. Let's add that other in. So I'm going to make sure you click again at the capsule component level, or even the drone itself, either one, and then click Add. And I want to type in collision, and I want to choose sphere radius again, sphere collision, and I want to call this the explode radius. Now it doesn't matter where it appears in here, but it may appear in different order. than yours will. It's okay. So for my sensing radius, what I want to do, click onto it, please. Sensing radius has some stuff. Take a look. So in the drone, the sensing radius, you can't even see it right now. I want to make it pretty big, right? So in the sensing radius, or the sphere radius, is going to be 1200. So let's change the sphere radius to 1200. Which, if I zoom out, it looks like this. It's like pretty big, right? 1200. One thing we want to do with the sphere radius is we want to do a couple things with the collision. All right. So what I want to do is I want to scroll down, and I want to go to the collision area of the sphere after I made it big. I want to definitely simulate the generates hits. Okay, I want to click that on. And on here where it says overlap all dynamic, that's what the default is, overlap all dynamic. Let's change it to custom. So I want to go to custom and see where it says overlap all. It's overlapping everything. I don't want it overlapping everything. I want it overlapping nothing. So let's ignore everything. And the only thing that I want to overlap is world dynamic and pawn. So world dynamic is the object type and pawn is the object type. Notice that the thing itself is a world dynamic object type itself. It is that kind of thing, right? So world dynamic and pawns, that's the sphere, the sensing radius, okay? So that's all I've done here. And what this does is a collision profile. We talked about this last time, a collision profile, for this thing. Next, I want to do the same thing for the explode radius. So I click on the explode radius, and we can see that the explode radius is 100 instead of that. So let's change the radius for that to 100. So you can see that it's just around the object itself. And then just down in the collision sphere area, the collision profile, again, instead of, what it had, let's change it to custom. And let's make sure that it has the same profile. So again, I'm going to go here, and it's going to be world dynamic and pawn. And we're good to go. Now, a couple of other things to talk about here in the collision profile since we're here. One thing is the collision enabled type. We are looking at query only, no physics. So remember what we're doing is we're doing a trigger collider. So this is like, I'm just going to relate it to Unity, right? So Unity, this would be a trigger collider. So what happens is there's no physical collision. There's no physics collision with this thing. It's not a physical object. It's like you're going to pass through this collider that you can't see, and it's going to trigger an effect, okay? So that's kind of what this is. Compile and save. One thing that you can do to help us out is to visualize these collisions and everything else in game. Okay, so I want to make them different colors. So what I'd like to do is I want to make the sensing radius here. I didn't do this in the PowerPoint, but I want to do it with you since you're here. Under advanced, let's change the color, the shape color, to like a I don't know, some kind of yellow color. All right. So that's one thing I want to make. And I also want to change the thickness. Let's change the thickness to like 2 so we can really see that thing, right? So a really thick looking thing. In the explode radius is also a shape color of red. But let's make that thickness 2 as well so we can see that, okay? So 2 radius. And then what we can do is we can actually visualize these. So if I go back to the game, let's go back to the game, guys, for a second. Take a look here. I can see them, right? So here's my stuff. Here's my outer radius, which is my sensing radius. And here's my inner radius, which is my explode radius. So you can see those two things right now, right? So my player is inside my sensing radius already. We can see that clearly, right? So I want to take my player and move them back. Let's move them outside of the sensing radius. So we don't want them to be like automatically sensed. So this is why all I did was move my player back out here. Okay, outside. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now, here's the thing. If I play the game, take a look at this now. Those radii go away, right? You don't see them. I want to be able to see them right now. So the way to see them, instead of drawing stuff manually, which you can do too, if I go back to the drone, and if I click on sensing radius, and if I go to the top here in details and I type in hidden, then you can see that it says hidden in game. I want to uncheck that. So I want to see the thing in the game, right? And I want to do the same thing for explode radius. Let's make it so that it's visible in the game. Hidden in game is unchecked. And if I compile and save now and run it, you can see now that I see these radii in game when I'm playing, which is pretty cool, okay? So I can tell when I've breached that area, right, what I've gone through. This is great for testing. Now, clearly I would turn this off when we play in real life, okay? But for now, what I want to do is I want to show you this thing. A mesh collider, so Griffin was asking, how would I do a mesh collider? Well, remember, a mesh collider would be on the mesh itself, and you wouldn't do a mesh collider like you're thinking. You would kind of create a collision just like you're doing right now. And then what you'd probably end up doing is something similar to the collision profile would be a physical collision instead of just a query. But we'll talk more about mesh colliders later. One thing to note, though, great question, because I know you're interested in trying to understand how to do things in Unreal Engine just like you did in Unity, is remember, if I was to look at let's take a look at the drone for a second. So if I go back to the drone, and if I go to the mesh itself, the mesh itself has a collision profile, remember? So, so here is the collision profile. And the collision profile basically is block, so this is actually different, block visibility camera, world static and world dynamic objects, which means I cannot walk through them, right? That's what it physically does, but it ignores other pawns and vehicles. So you can actually walk through vehicles and pawns, right? That's the typical collision profile that we have here in our mesh for the drone, right? And it's also destructible. Destructible objects are also blocked. You don't go through destructible objects, okay? So that's the collision profile. And one thing to note is if I scroll up to the mesh itself, like this one here, this is the skeletal mesh, and if I double click onto it, you're gonna see a couple of things here that you have, right? So one is you can see the actual mesh itself, right? This is the skeletal mesh, right? And a great thing about this is under show, if I click on show here, you can see things like the collision. So you can see what the collision is being, what is used right now for colliding with this thing. So by default, this drone has like a capsule collider, to your point, that has been added to it from before. So this gets added on the mesh itself. This is what this looks like. So that is the collision profile of the drone, right? You can change this. You can change the collision profile. Notice on the right, on the top right here, you have three buttons, right? We have the skeleton, we have the skeletal mesh, and we have this, which is your physics asset. If you click onto that, you can see that you see that the drone itself. That's what it looks like. That is the physics asset that's been added, and so that is your what it's going to look like when in terms of the collision profile itself as well. It's kind of cool. You can change this. If I hook back to the skeletal mesh, right? You can change all this if you really want to. You don't have to keep this default shape at all. Did my stuff just crash? Sorry, my editor is a hunkering for stuff. It doesn't have the same control as you guys. I may have to relaunch. Because yeah, I think my maybe just slow. Yeah. I'm a crashiola, my friends. My editor just crashed. So it happens. I'm doing a lot, like I said. So Control Shift Escape. Oh, look at that. It came back. I just have to give myself time again. I'm a person that has no patience. Yeah, so what I was saying is this is what it had. It had this this thing. So if I go back to the skeletal mesh, you can change this, right? So instead of having this all together, you can change the look and feel of this altogether to something else, right? So instead of keeping the default shape that we've added, we can add whatever shape we want. All right, so we're going to talk about that later, but that is definitely something that you can do. Again, that's under the show. You can show collisions if you really want to. And then we can change the collisions by changing our physics asset itself. All right, so let's save all. So file, just to make sure that we're on the same page. I'm just going to put this over here and go here and file, save all. There we go. Just so that we can close that stuff off. We don't need all those things. It was just for you, Griffin. Hopefully that answered your question. So now that we have that, going back to this, we've done these two things. And what I want to do is now make I want to kind of make a new function called player detected, right? But before we do that, I want to add another variable called goal actor, Okay, this is for the drone itself. So go back to the drone, and I want to add a brand new variable on the bottom called goal actor, right? Goal actor is going to be of type FPS character. So here under Boolean, I want you to search for FPS character, and you can see FPS character has an object reference that we want to choose. So that's what this is. So goal actor is what I'm looking at, FPS character, right? Let's make that, instead of FPS character, let's make it actor object reference. Let's try that again. I'm sorry, I made that mistake. Actor object reference. So if we go to actor, and if I go to actor object reference, that's what it should be. Sorry about that. Actor object reference, that'll be okay. And then I want to make a new function called player detected. So player detected, if I go to functions, add that in, player detected. Let's also make this, we know this is going to be for combat, so I'm going to add it to the combat category, right? So there's the combat category. I want to make a new input parameter called character, but of type actor, right? So it's going to be here, I'm going to add a new input. We're going to call it character right here. And it's going to be of type actor object reference. So actor object reference, there it is, right? So that's the character. And I want to, this is how we're going to track our when we're colliding. So I want to get a goal actor reference. So here's the goal actor. So I want to kind of control drag in. Here's the goal actor. And there's two ways of doing that. I can set the goal actor. So I want to kind of do an alt drag and kind of push out to here. And here's the set actor. So when the player is detected, the goal actor is updated. That's what this is going to do. Okay. But also what I want to do is I want to make a little message, print a message to the console just for testing. So I want to go print. Here's my print string function. My print string function can print whatever I want, and I'm going to print in there something like, kind of like character detected. So we'll say that, say character detected up here, character detected, right? And I want to have the duration set to like 30 seconds, so it'll stay there for a bit. Okay? So that's what this function does. Compile and save. Okay. So two things I added. I added a goal actor on the left. The goal actor should be under combat, I'm sorry to say. So let's put that under the category combat as well, just to keep organized, right? And that is what we have here. Next, what I want to do is make a new function called activate sensing radius. So activate sensing radius is the function. Let's make that new function. So I'll close off some of these. I had extra functions that I had open, but I'm going to make another one. Activate sensing radius. Again, what we want in here is we want to get an other actor of type actor object reference. So again, in the inputs, we want to call this other actor, which is of type actor object reference. Again, if you don't have it already selected, you can go actor. If you just type in actor, you can choose actor object reference. So actor object reference, why are we using that instead of a specific actor? Because there might be more than one type that you're detecting. Okay, so actor as opposed to specifically the character. So now what I want to say is this. First of all, with our activate sensing radius, I want to make sure that the other actor coming inbound from this function is not us. It's not the drone itself. I don't want the drone to detect itself. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do. So we're going to say other actor, so get other actor, right? And we want to say that it's not equal to, not equal, so it's not equal, just like this, type in not equal, to self. And if I get a reference to self, that is like saying me, the actual drone itself. So if the actor is not equal to self, then I want to branch. So I want to branch. There it is. And when I'm branched, what I want to do now is I want to get access to the other actor. Here's the other actor. And I want to cast to FPS character. I want to try to cast, that's what this is, try cast to FPS character. right? If it passes, if I'm able to cast, then I get a reference to my FPS character itself. That's the character that I'm colliding with, right? And I can do things with that, which is I can use that new player detected function. Here's my new player detected function, and I can connect it to this cast. So basically what I'm saying is, hey, I'm just going to let's go through this little function so you understand what I'm doing, right? So activate sensing radius should also be part of the combat category, right? But it looks like this. Here's how it works, guys. Let's go through it. Another actor gets passed into here, right? So the radius detects something, right? Okay, make sure the actor's not me. It's not the drone itself. If it's not, if that's true, then try and cast to the FPS character. Is it of type character? Yes. If it's true, then we know the player's been detected. That's the function we just did. Pass in a reference to the player, the character being detected, and set that as the new goal actor. Because inside the player detected, if you actually double click on a function like this, it'll take you to the function, right? And you can see now the goal actor is set, which means my goal for the drone is now the player. If I detect the player, I'm going to go after the player. That's what this is going to do, right? As opposed to, you know, whatever. So it's actually going to show this. We haven't done it yet. We haven't connected it yet. We have to connect it, right? But we're just making the functions first. Next, now that we've got the functions in place to detect the character, right, we need to connect it to the on-begin overlap. So the way to do that is if I go back, let's close some of these functions off. I don't need them anymore. If I go back to the event graph for the drone, right, I'm going to right-click here. And first of all, let's click on the left. Let's click the sensing radius. That's important as context. And then I'm going to right-click and say, if I type in overlap, right? It doesn't really do it. But if I say component overlap, it says component of overlap thing. So I don't want that either. I want it on, you know, begin component overlap, right? So again, if you don't see it, it's this, on component begin overlap. You actually have to type it all in. On component begin overlap. That's one way of getting it. The other way to get this, by the way, if you click onto this, it's on the right. If I scroll all the way down, there's some common events. Take a look. Look at these common events here. There's a bunch of common events. So if you can't get it from here, let's say, for example, you didn't remember that, you can click on the sensing radius and scroll down to events. And if I just click on component begin overlap, click this little plus, boom, it just kind of makes that node for you. All right, so if you can't remember it, okay? Now with this node, you can clearly see we've got this other actor, right? So this is a beautiful thing, right? We can actually start linking up our activate sensing radius to this. Here's the way to do that. Take your activate sensing radius and put it on top of the other actor itself, like this, right? And then instantly it connects. Take a look, right? So now it'll all work. Try this out in the game. So compile and save. Well, let's go back to the game and play it. And now you'll see that when I am moving forward, as soon as I cross the barrier, it says character detected on the top. And if I leave the barrier and come back, it says character detected again. If I leave the barrier and come back, character detected a third time. And I keep on doing that on the left. You can see that every single time I cross that barrier, the drone detects me, right? Here's something you also check. And again, what I want to do is I want to go to here. When I'm playing, take a look at this. I can go here and I can scroll down. I can do that by Control Alt Tab. Basically do that. So I can go over here to the game. And if I scroll down, you can see that I have access to the drone. And then what I want to see is the goal actor. If I type in goal actor, right, can I see the goal actor? And why can't I see the goal actor, my friends? Yes?
It's not exposed.
It's not exposed. So let's expose that. So back to this. If I go back to the drone, and if I want the goal actor, which is right here, to be exposed, we can just put the eye open on this one so we can see it in game. And if I press play again, let's do that. Play again. Let's click on the drone ahead of time. So let's click on the drone this time. Now you can see the goal actor is none. Okay, this is a check for us. So if I run into this thing, all of a sudden the goal actor becomes the FPS character, which is a beautiful thing. It actually changes it to us, me, the guy that just crossed, right? And this is a great way of confirming that everything is working. Okay, I got a couple questions here. Let's take a look. hit and overlap? Do you mean in like the collision, Griffin? Okay, so let's go back to the collider and let's talk about that just a bit. It's good questions again, because you're trying to understand the way the collision system works, which I think is a great thing. Again, if I go back to sensing radius, let's go down to this thing, right? So overlap. Okay, so there's overlap. Overlap means when two objects overlap each other, right? And there's block. I'm not sure what you mean by hit, but overlap is actually what's going on here, where it's a trigger collider, right? But if you want to block, if I actually like connect with something, like let's say, for example, if I'm playing this thing now, and I go in and physically connect with or hit this thing, notice that I can't pass through it no matter how much I try. My gun does. My gun passes through it because it ignores everything, right? It doesn't care what it's hitting, but I can't physically strike this. Now, my character can't pass through, right? Well, because there's two things. I have a character capsule. Again, for me to escape this, to see it, the best thing for me to do is, if I go back here to the top, see this little object here, if I click onto it, it detaches my character, just little arms here that they're flying around, right? But you can see that one thing you can't see is you can't see the collider, right? There is a way of picturing that, and just going to go back to the game to do that. So if I want to show physics or show collision, let's say show collision, right? So let's say show. Try this again here. Show debug. I'll do that. Show debug collision. That's this one. And press enter, right? So that is going to show the collision. But what I want to do is I want to be able to do my commands here again. I'll come back to that. Okay. So you can do little commands to turn on collisions and turn off the ability for you to see them. Oh, there it is. I actually turned it on. I was in the wrong view. So take a look at that. It actually shows me my collider, my capsule, my box. There's my box itself. There's some ways of showing this to the thing. So now you can see that when I cross, right, which is interesting, if I'm overlapping or not. And you can see that if I'm detecting overlap, like I may not be detecting any overlap for this particular object, right? But for the drone itself, I will, right? So this is kind of a neat thing. One thing that you can do, if I'm not wrong, is if I do, show debug collision, I can turn it off, right? Let me try that again. So sorry about that. I'm getting this by pressing the tilde command. Let's try this out. All right, so there's the tilde command on the left, right? The tilde is below the escape key, right? So if I type this in, and if I type in show debug like this, and then type in collision, exactly the same, and press enter, it will remove some of that information that I can look at, right? I can also show collision, right? So I can do whatever I want. Like here's show collision, right? And I can kind of show different parts of my thing in real time. This allows me to do things. So you can see here my gun. You can see the colliders on my gun too, and all that stuff, and how they don't really have, all this kind of stuff. There's a difference between, overlapping and colliding, and the way to do that, of course, is to depending on how your collision profile is. So hopefully I answered your question. It's more complex than in Unity, right? That's one thing they always complain about with Unreal Engine. It's a complex collision system, but we're going to get to more of those commands later on. Okay, so back to there. So now we've done the component begin overlap. We see the character is colliding. Well, now we've added sensing. Let's put this up on DevOps. So git add dot git commit -m, and we'll say added sensing to drone, git push. So we're making the drone a little bit more intelligent in some ways, some pieces to AI. Remember, the two pieces to AI that I would ever add are some kind of sensing radius and line of sight. If I have line of sight with something, then I can fire. If I have sensing radius, I can hear them or detect them in some way, right? So those are the two things that I would definitely add in to any AI, right? Okay, so now that okay, good. I'm glad that you like it. Yeah, I like it too. It's great for me. So let's go back to this. So now what I want to do is I want to add the activate explode radius functions. This is where it's actually going to explode. So when I collide with something with the drone, then the drone will explode if the character is colliding with it. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back to the drone. I'm going to add a new function here. The function is going to be called activate explode radius. It's going to be of type combat. So it's going to be a combat function. I'm definitely going to take in an other actor of type actor object reference again. So other actor, there it is, of actor object reference, there we are. And then what we want to do, same idea as last time. So if you want to, this is kind of neat, you can actually copy paste stuff from one function to another. Let me show you how to do that. So back to activate sensing radius, we have this check right here where I want to check to see if it's not me. What if I want to just copy these nodes? So I can kind of go to the other function, grab these nodes, copy them, try it yourself please. It's important, it'll save you some time later on, especially when during the test, right? So not all of it, just, yeah, that part right there, copy it, and then go back over to your activate explode radius and paste it in, Control V, right? And now you can see that we have saved some time, right? Because it's the same thing, right? It's like the exact same thing that we're doing. First to check if it's not me, and then after that, I want to cast the other actor to this. That's also something I can do from this one. So this casting stuff, I can also grab. So I can grab this, go back to explode radius and paste in here and connect. So I can say, well, if I can cast to the FPS character, then we know that the FPS character exists. And what I want to do is I want to apply damage. So I can do something like apply damage. So I can apply damage to the FPS character. The damaged actor is the character, right? The damage amount is from my attributes. So if I take attributes and drag it over, and I go get damage now, get damage, right? So remember we just added that new attribute, that new property. Then instead of having a base damage of 0 or a hard-coded value, I can just pull in the attribute amount, whatever that's going to be. The damage causer is self. So if I do self, get a reference to self, so that's the damage causer, right? Here it is. And now I have a good profile for applying damage to the actor, okay? That's this part. Then I want to change, I want to do the things that we did last time. Play an explosion, play the explosion sound, and destroy my actor. So play an explosion, play the explosion sound, right? So play the explosion sound, and then destroy the actor. So destroy. Again, some people added I saw people in the video, they added a delay, like of a second or some milliseconds. That's okay, if that makes more sense for you. For now, I'm not going to do that. So we're going to change some stuff later. So that's what it's going to be. So now that I have this explode function, compile and save, so we get that, all that going. If I go back to this, right? Instead of, I want to update, I want to change my my collision, my explode radius, to add this activate explode radius thing. Okay, so let's do that. So, so back to the event graph, and I want to click on the explode radius this time, and I want to type in on component begin overlap for the explode radius this time, and I want to take the activate explode radius and attach it to the other actor, which attaches it to everything else. There we go. So that's the explode radius. So that means when my character collides with, if it's the character and it collides with the drone, it will explode. Let's try this out. Compile and save. And if I go back to my character, play him, and go into the drone and touch him, hopefully it's going to explode, right? There it is. So it exploded, but I didn't take any damage. How come? It did explode, but it didn't take any damage. Well, how come? because we haven't activated the any damage, take damage on the player. The player can't take damage yet because although damage is being applied, we're not listening for it. We have to listen for damage being applied, and then we can do damage to the player. But it does explode the drone. Let's try that again. So if I press this on, and again, if I collide with the drone, if I just touch it, just in its radius, just in here, right, it'll explode, right? That's what happens, which is actually a really cool effect, right? So the drone instantly explodes when it touches my character. Why? Think about the game that we're going to make. The drones come at the player and they smash into them. That's how they do damage. There's no need to fire bullets. They just smash into the player and explode, like a moving bomb is what they are. An explododrone, whatever you want to call it. All right, great. So now that we've got that, we have the exploding for the drone. Let's put that up on DevOps. So again here, git add dot, git commit -m. We'll say added, explode on contact to drone. Git push. There we go. Awesome. Okay, next part. So now that we've got this part, we're going to go and back to the player. Like I said, we want to add the take damage. We want to make a function called take damage to the player. So back to the player's blueprint. I'm just going to kind of hide this one. Back to the player. I want to add a new function. So here's the function. It's going to be called take damage. Right? It's going to be of type combat, clearly. Right? There it is. And the take damage function is going to take in a damage amount of type float. So again, click onto that on the right. There's going to be an input called damage amount of type float. Here it is, right? Damage amount of type float. That's what I've got here. And now I need to get my attributes, and I want to get the health. So, okay, so I took damage somehow, and I want to grab reference to my attributes, and I want to get health. Right here, get health, right? So I get a reference to my current health. This is my current health, right? And what I want to do with it is I want to subtract the damage amount. So I want to subtract the damage amount, get damage amount. That's just from the, instead of drawing a line, all I'm doing is just, once I've declared, again, just to be clear here on what I'm doing, I could do this, right? I just don't like doing this. I think it's ugly, right? So I don't do any dragging from here. I just kind of reference the object itself it's more clean for me when I make my blueprints. Now, if you like to drag, go ahead, but it's going to become pretty messy later. All right, so I want to subtract it, but there's a problem here, right? Because I can subtract enough so I can go negative health, right? I never want to go negative health. So what I can do is clamp. I can clamp, right? So what I need for that is max health. So I want to get attributes. Hey, attributes, get max health, right? And what clamping does, remember, is it kind of restricts a value into a range. That's what it does. So I want to do a clamp, and the way to do clamp is if you type in clamp like this and type in float, clamp float like this, then you'll get the float, the clamp float. The value is the value you want to clamp, the one that I'm subtracting. So this is the new value, so I'm going to put that in there. And then it's going to go from 0 to max health, right? So the max health goes in here. So I'm clamping the character's health, so it can never go less than 0 and can never go larger than max health. So if I get healing, it never goes larger than max health. Okay? All right, so that's the take damage part. So this actually applies the damage. And then I want to set the new health value. So again, I want to get a reference to attributes. So I can just pull it in, right? And then I want to set health from this. And I want to set health to whatever that new health value is that I just got. So if I took damage, then I want to set the health down to whatever it is. And then I want to connect that into my execution pin so that this is the way I'm taking damage. Okay? So move that a little closer. Then I want to update the HUD. So I want to set the HUD health here. So once I've taken damage, I want to update my HUD. That's what I'm doing. Update the actual health bar. Okay? And this is the way I'm you know, what I put a little comment here, take incoming damage, update health and attribute and health and HUD. That's what I'm doing. So we'll do it here. I'll say take incoming damage and then subtract health, plant, and update HUD, right? That's what it is. I'm really, and you can, even if you put it down here, you can change where you put your comments, like so. So you can kind of put it like this. And comments are important, so kind of, it gives you a very high level of what's going on. So I can kind of do here and click on this and press OK, and we have a little comment. If you don't like it, you can always change it. Compile and save. So that is my take damage function. You guys looking at the scenery?
No, there were two guys that were eyeballing me really hard.
Me?
Me.
Oh.
I have no idea why. Thanks for the vote of confidence.
All right. I thought you were looking at other scenery. I didn't know, but that's fine. Let's continue. So, you know, so here we are with this. I'm just going to go back down to this, and now we can have this event to take damage, event any damage, and use the take damage node we just made to take the damage. Let's do that. So that is back in the event graph. And I can just simply go down to add event any damage. If I just type any damage, it's an event any damage. And I can take my take damage and plug it in. And I can attach the damage to the damage amount. There it is. This is what it would look like. So now we've enabled the player to take damage. That's what this does. So compile and save. And if I go back to play the game, now if I kind of run into the drone, look what happens to my player's health. Boom. My player's health gets dropped by a bit every single time. So you can see that if I hit multiple drones, by the way, our game in the future will have a bunch of drones that'll come at the player, they'll roam around, and they'll try and kill them, right? That'll be the game, right? So, you know, but first we're going to build this up. All right, this is excellent. So we've kind of have this, right, which is pretty cool. It takes damage. And then what we want to do is we want to add patrolling. But for now, let's go back and put this up on DevOps. So again, git add dot, git commit -m. We'll say added or enabled player to take damage. Okay, so we've enabled that to happen, right? So we can see that's going on. Wonderful. All right, questions so far? You guys good? Yeah? Abby, okay? Wonderful, good, good. Glad you're okay. Moving on, moving on. So now that we've got this, and Abby, just follow along with the PowerPoints if you're behind, okay? Now that we've got this is the next step. We're going to add patrolling behavior now to the drone. Now this is very interesting. So we need two things. We need a nav mesh, right? And we also need a patrol point. So how do we do this? So first of all, let's talk about our nav mesh. You guys did nav mesh in Unity, yeah? Nope. All right, new stuff, new stuff, new stuff. Let's go. So back to this. Let's zoom out of here a little bit. On the top left, there is a little button, which is a beautiful little button that I want you guys to know about in Unreal Engine. This one, right here. It's a little plus button, right? If you click onto it, it actually gives you a quick stuff that you can add. If you want to add an actor or a character or a pawn or anything like that, it actually instantly adds it to the scene, right? Anything you want here, right? Geometry, volumes, right, as an example, and a bunch of stuff. There's also this other panel called the Place Actors panel, which is a reference in the PowerPoint. If I click onto that, it adds another panel here like this. Take a look, right? This Place Actors panel. So I did that by going here, and I went down to Place Actors panel, okay? So what this allows us to do is it kind of looks at a bunch of different really cool things that are here, right? Like anything from media to, you know, cinematic stuff, shapes, lights, and a bunch of other stuff. But we can also search up here for something called nav mesh. So if I look for it, you can see that nav mesh is a bounds volume. See that? Nav mesh bounds volume, if you search for it. I want you to drag and drop this into the scene. Nav mesh bounds volume, and drag and drop it into the scene. You can see that this is just a box that we have in here. So what we want to do here is we want to change the location of the nav mesh bounds volume that we just added in, right? So on the right, if I've clicked on nav mesh bounds volume on the right here, you'll see in the context menu on the bottom here, the location. And I've given you where I want to put it. I want to zero it out. So here, notice there's a little reset property. Click on that reset property. It kind of zeroes it out to 0, 0, 0. Okay? That's first thing. What that does is it actually puts it in the middle of the game, like way over here. Okay? That's where I put it. But I want to change the scale, and I want to show you this for a second. In the game, okay, with the nav mesh bounds volume selected, if I press the P key, it actually gives me this little square, right? That's what it does. And let me just take this place actors panel away by clicking this little X on the top here, okay? So no more place actors panel. So notice you see this, right? This little P, it's a square. This little square is, I want you to think about it as a navigation mesh where when we enable AI, right, that the AI will navigate over. Any place where this mesh exists in the game, the AI will be able to drive itself towards the goal, whatever the goal is, okay, using AI movement, okay? What this does actually, and we'll cover this next semester together, right, is we're going to build our own type of navigation for our objects, right? But what we're doing here is it's using something called pathfinding, right? And it finds the shortest path to your character. Now this is pretty small, right? It's like really tiny. So we want to expand this. And in the PowerPoint, I say, I want to change the scale to 40 by 40 by 1. So let's change this scale of this little box to 40 by 40 by 1 to cover the entire, take a look at that, to cover the entire, kind of game, right? So this is where anywhere in our level right now, the nav mesh bounds volume is going to be covered, right? So it means that the AI can roam eventually when we enable this functionality anywhere on our map. Let's press the P key again to get rid of that, those numbers. So P just puts it back, takes it off. Okay, that's what it does. So you can see it, you can visualize it with the P key. Wonderful. So now that we've got the nav mesh bounds volume on, we can actually add functionality to the drone. Let's continue. But first, what I want to do is I want to add a patrol point, someplace where it's going to roam to, right? So let's do that. So inside the same drone folder, I want to add another, object of type actor. So I'm going to add another blueprint. So blueprint class of type actor this time. Blueprint class of type actor. And I want to call this BP underscore patrol point. BP underscore patrol point. That's what I'm doing. Okay. What I want is I want to add two components, a collision sphere called patrol point radius and a patrol point mesh. Let's talk about that in a second. So open it up. Right? Here's what it looks like. It's pretty basic. Remember, this is an actor. This doesn't move. Right? This is like a piece of furniture or something I'm going to use. But my patrol point is going to eventually be invisible. We're going to make it visible for us for testing. But later, it's just going to be a point where it's going to go to. And we can move it anywhere in the scene. We're going to reuse this later on in the game. But it's visible for us. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to add in a patrol point radius, which is going to be a sphere collision component. Let's add that in. So if I type in collision again, we want to add in a sphere collision. And we're going to call this patrol point radius. That's what that is. And I'm also going to add in a patrol point mesh. But before we do that, what I want to do is I want to make the patrol point radius the root component. Okay, let me explain this, guys. Very important. Please pay attention 1 second. All right? Don't do anything else. Take a look. You too, Abby. Take a look up here. Right? All right, so patrol point. We have this thing called default scene root. Default scene root is the default main container of our game object. Okay, that's what it is. If I want to make the patrol point radius or anything else the root component, I just drag and drop on top of it like this. Watch. Whoop, make this like this. And it says drop here to make patrol point radius the new root. Let's do that. So now patrol point radius is the new root component for this outliner. Okay? Now this is important because later on, when there's a you do section, it's going to ask you to do the same thing. Okay, so that's why I'm showing you what to do now. So later on when you need to do this, you need to know, you know what to do. Okay, make this the root component. That's what this is. Okay, compile and save. Next, let's add in the patrol point mesh as a child of that component. So again, we're going to make this a static mesh of type. It's going to be called patrol point mesh, right? It's a static mesh, compile and save. And what I want with this mesh, right, this static mesh, is I want to make it so that it is of type shape tri-pyramid mesh. That's what it's going to be. So if you look here for static mesh, and if I just type in tri-pyramid, right, you can see that it's going to be this static mesh. Looks like a pyramid. Okay. And I can change the shape of the pyramid so that, not the shape, the color of the pyramid by changing the material, right? So the material itself, so again, if I click away and click back, the mesh has a default mesh, which is this basic wall material. I want to change this to gold. If I just type in gold at the top here, you can see that this gold material comes up. So it'll be like this gold material we can see. Okay. Compile and save. And I want to change the radius eventually of my patrol point so that it is outside of that mesh. We'll kind of come back to that in a second, but you can see that that's all I've done here is change this so it looks like this, right? So the radius, let's talk about the patrol point radius. It's got to be 100. So if I go back to the radius itself, let's make that 100. Right, there it is. I want to make it visible like I did before in the game. So I want to give it a thickness. Let's make it a thickness of like 2. Let's also make the color so we can see it blue, something different. So it looks blue instead of red or green or yellow, right? There it is, blue. And now that I've made this patrol point blue, I want to make it visible. So I'm going to type in hidden, and I'm unchecked hidden in game. There we go. Compile and save. So that is the patrol point. Let's add one to see what it looks like in the game. So if I go to now, I should have a patrol point. I want to add a few of them, but for now, just let's add one. So I'm going to go here in the corner, navigate to the corner of my game, and just drag and drop it on. You should see that it adds on and it's blue. Right? There's a blue radius, right? And it's going to be visible if I play the game, right? Let's do this. So hide this. And if I press play, then way in the corner there, take a look, right? I can skirt the enemy, but I can see this patrol point way over here. And you can see it's blue, right? I made it blue and I made it visible so that we can check it out to make sure, yeah, you can hover over it, but there's some issues, right? We can't pass through the patrol point right now. This is bad. We want to fix this. We want to be able to pass through it. It shouldn't exist for us. Right now, going with what Griffin asked earlier, this is a physical object we've just added. We don't want that to be a physical object. It's going to be a virtual object, something we can pass through eventually. All right, so back to this. Let's go back to the collision profile so we can see this. Back to this. Oops. We want to change the collision profile of my patrol radius to basically ignore everything except for world dynamic. So let's do that. So back to this. Here's my patrol point. Patrol radius. I want to go to the collision profile, scroll all the way down. I want to click custom. I want to ignore everything except for world dynamic. Except for world dynamic. Okay. And by the way, it must be query only. Okay, query only. Make sure that it says query only as opposed to something else. So it has to be query only and world dynamic, and then I'm ignoring everything except for world dynamic. And the same thing goes for the patrol mesh. The patrol mesh is the same. So first of all, one thing we forgot is generate hits. That's what this is. So should hit events fire when this object collides during physics simulation? I'm going to say yes, but we're only going to do query, no physics for right now. This one's the same thing. I'm going to also do a custom. So custom. And just like before, I'm going to ignore everything except for overlap. The thing. So ignore everything except for world dynamic. All right, so now if I have that and compile and save, and if I go back to the game and play it, and I run over there, I should be able to go right through the object with no physics at all. So it shouldn't stop me in any way, right? So pass right through, no problem, right? Okay, wonderful. So that is this part. Now, next part. What I want to do is I want to add a variable called next patrol point to the patrol point object itself. So copy this, go back to here. I want to go to patrol point, and I want a new variable. Here's a new variable called next patrol point, but I want to make it of type. This is interesting. BP underscore patrol point object reference. So BP underscore patrol point object reference. Let's also expose this so I can see it if I want to track what it is. Okay, that's what I want to do. So BP underscore patrol point. So all patrol points are going to have this BP underscore patrol point object reference called next patrol point. Why? Here's what I want to do. The drone is going to wander to the patrol point. It's going to realize it's not a player, and it's going to pick up the next patrol point in a sequence. Because here, what I'm going to do with patrol points is I'm going to tell each patrol point which the next one is going to be, what the next one is going to be. And I can create a linked list of patrol points anywhere in the game. I can make it go in circles if I want to. I can make it do whatever it's going to be. I can climb upstairs. I can do whatever, right, with patrol points, which is kind of really cool. Okay? So that's what this is, patrol points. And back to this. So now that I've done this, I can use an eyedropper tool to set up patrol points. Let's see what I'm talking about here. So I've got this. So I'm going to go back to the game, compile and save, go back out here, and I've added one patrol point. Let's kind of go over here. This is the one patrol point I added. What you can do, all right, is I can alt drag my object to duplicate it. Watch, if I press alt and I drag my object here in the game, I duplicate it to create another one. There's another one. And I can do the same thing for my object again. So I can alt drag to make another one. So I can make 4 patrol points around my player, right, in this way. Here's 4 patrol points. Take a look, guys. I got 4 patrol points now. So what I can do is I can click on the first one. This is patrol point 0, or 1, if you will. And on the right, take a look. I have this next patrol point stuff right here. Look, there's a little eyedropper tool, right? And this little eyedropper tool, I can select the patrol point that's going to be next. So this is the first one. I want it to go like this in this pattern, from here to here to here to here, and then back over here. So the way to do that is I'm going to click on the eyedropper tool, right, on the right. I'm going to wait for you to catch up. See that little eyedropper tool? If I click onto it, then I click the other patrol point. Notice that I can't click anything else except for a patrol point, right? And then if I click that patrol point, and I click the eyedropper tool, I click the next one over here. Oh, there it is. And if I click this patrol point, and I click the eyedropper tool, then I can select the next one in sequence over here. And I click this patrol point, click the eyedropper tool, and click the first one again. And so now what I've done is I've created a loop, right? Where basically when the drone moves, it's going to pick up the next patrol point and go from one patrol point to the next. All right? Save all, please. Make sure you save all. We've added patrol points. This is new. Let's put this up on DevOps. So git add dot, git commit -m. We'll say added patrol points. Wonderful. Excellent. So now that I've added patrol points here in a series, the next part is, how do I interact with them? So let's go to the next part. I want to move the drone. Here is where we're going to add AI, guys, right? First time you're going to see AI in the game, so please, again, pay attention so you understand how this works. There are a couple of built-in functions. That's how easy this is, all right? A couple built-in functions. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a new custom event called move to target in the drone. Let's try this. So back in the drone, I'm going to go to the event graph, right? And I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to make a new custom event. So if I type in custom event, right? And we're going to call this move. We're going to call this move to target, right? So again, custom event on the right, move to target, like so, right? Move to target. And what move to target's going to do, it's going to use something called an AI move to. So right click and go AI move to, right? and it's built in, and it says move to location or actor, right? So I don't want to move to a location, that's a specific location of the game. I want to move to an actor, right? So this is the wrong one. Let's try this again. AI move to this one. This one. I put the wrong one in. So the pawn is self, so we'll take that. That's the thing I'm moving is self. By the way, I can move other things in response, but for now I'm moving just self, right? And the destination is the target actor, which is the goal actor, right? That's the goal actor. So that is the destination, that's the target location, goal actor, okay? So here's what I want to do. When my drone flies over my patrol point, it's going to pick up the goal actor. That patrol point is going to it's going to read the next patrol point from that patrol point. That's what the drone is going to do, and it's going to go to the next one. Then it's going to go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. It's going to keep on patrolling forever. Okay, so this does. So this is just a way of doing it. Now this isn't going to do anything. I have to call this custom event, right? That's what I need to do. And the way to do that is in the event begin play for the drone. Okay. Notice that there is no event begin play because we removed it. Let's put it back. So I'll type in event begin play, right? Here's the event begin play for the drone. What I want to do is I want to add in a timer function. So set timer function by name, set timer function by name. There's different timer functions, right? And the timer function by name can actually activate a function. We're going to use move to, right? Which is what it says, move to target. Move to target, right? And that's this. We just made this move to target function, and it's going to, on an interval, right? Every X number of milliseconds, it's going to move to the next target. That's what it's going to do, right? And then how many milliseconds? Time is 1, so we're going to put that as 1. And we're going to set it as looping. So it's going to loop to the target, right? Moving target means whatever the goal actor is, it's going to move to that target. Okay. There it is. Well, this is interesting. If we just do this, right, and it moves to the target, we also want to save a reference to the patrol timer. Let's do that. So the way to do that is on the right, where it says return value, we can right click and promote that to the patrol timer. So we'll call this patrol timer. This is definitely a combat thing. Let's put this in the combat category. So we'll have that in the combat category as well. Okay, and this is pretty cool. Let's try something. Let's run this, compile and save. And the drone won't do anything right now, but let's see what happens with when I play the game and I enter its radius. Take a look at that. It kind of moved right to me, right? Actually, I didn't have to do anything. If I just play the game, let's try this again. So if I just play the game, please try this so you can see what I'm talking about. So play, it has a reference to me and it'll just come out, right? What if I move around? Will it move around? Let's try this out. So it knows where I am somehow, right? So I can move around and the drone is going to try and chase me, right? Woo, it's right at me. It's pretty fast, that drone, right? I can't get away from it, in fact, right? We're going to change that later on. For now, I want you to see that the drone can come right at me, right? And why is that? Because we've already set this up, if you think about it. Let me explain how all this works so you understand how this is working. If I go back to the drone is basically saying on event begin play, start a timer. After a second, access move to target, the function. Move to target is a custom function in the event graph, and what it's going to do is going to call this really cool function called AI move to. AI move to says take this, the drone itself, and move it to the goal actor. Well, what we've done with the goal actor, right, as an example, is we've set up the goal actor by default to my player. That's what I've done, right? So that's why it's moving to my player in the first place. The goal actor itself, as an example, is the player object, right? That's why it shows you this. So if I go back to the drone, and if I scroll down, and if I look at combat, let's take a look at all the combat things. Here's the patrol timer, right? One thing we don't have here is the goal actor, right? Goal actor doesn't come up, but goal actor is definitely a thing for the drone, and the goal actor is going to be set when I'm overlapping. So by default, it picks me up and it comes at me. Okay, good. But what I wanted to do is I want to set the goal actor, instead of it being my player, I want to set the goal actor to something else. So let's go back to the game. Okay, let's zoom out to the game for a second. And I can access the drone. Here's the drone. And in the drone, where it says goal actor, so let's say goal actor, right now you see none. But what I want to do is I want to select my first node, my first patrol point way out here. So I can kind of click on this, and then I can kind of select this patrol point. And now my patrol point is the goal actor, right? So if I press play, you can see that after a second, the drone will go to that patrol point, not me. It'll go there and stay there forever. It won't move because it doesn't know what to do after it moves there for the first time. But it moved to my patrol point. All right, so we have to change that. So to change that, let's go and modify the activate explode radius function. So back to this. And I'm going to go to the drone. And the drone itself, it has a activate explode radius function. And right now it looks like this, right? So where I try and cast to my FPS character. See, I'm trying to cast my FPS character. But what if I fail? What if it's not the FPS character, but it's something else, like a patrol point? Well then, if it's a patrol point, get the next patrol point. That's what I want to do here. So back to this, I'm going to try and cast to the patrol point. First of all, is it a patrol point? That's how we're going to do it. So I'm going to move some of this so we can visualize it better. So I'm just going to move this over right over here. And then what I want to do is, if it failed, if the cast failed, if it's not a character, right, then let's do a add reroute node right down here. And I'm going to try and get the other actor. Let's try to get that actor again. Copy paste that over here. And I'm going to say, cast to BP underscore patrol point. And if I can cast the patrol point, that means that the thing I just collided with is a patrol point, right? That's what this is. So is it an actor? Yes. Explode. If it's not an actor, now check to see if it's a patrol point. If it is, then what do I want to do? I want to get the next patrol point. So I'll say get next patrol point. I want to get the next patrol point. And then from that patrol point, I want to set the goal actor to that. So I'm going to take the goal actor here, and I'm going to set it to the next patrol point. That's what I want. So here's my goal actor. I want to set it to the next patrol point. Right? So that is my next patrol point. What else do I want to do? I want to clear and invalidate my timer by handle. I want to clear that timer that I just made, right? So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to get my patrol timer, which is right here. So get my patrol timer. And I want to clear and invalidate control timer by handle, right? That's why I save that. Which means that it's not going to immediately go, because otherwise it would just keep, it wouldn't hover. It would just go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one as soon as it collides. And it kind of looks weird. So instead of that, I want it to reset the timer so I can do it again. And so I'm going to use the same set timer by function name. So again, set timer by function name, and I want to move to target. That's the function name. Move to target, right? And it's going to be after 1 second. Again, just like before, it's going to loop, right? Just all the regular stuff. And then I want to set the patrol timer now to this one. So I want to take that patrol timer and reset it to this value, right? Okay. So that little line of action that we just made allows me to do the patrolling. This part right here, right? So really, this damages the actor up here, but if the actor is not detected, then what we want to do is patrol. So this right here is check if other actor is patrol point, right? That's what that is. And if it's true, if it is the patrol point, right? If it is a patrol point, then that's great. Then, you know, patrol to the next one. You know, past this one, what this part does is set the goal actor, right, to the to the patrol point of that, the next patrol point of that patrol point, right? The next line, the next in line, and now move there. That's what this does, okay? All right, well, let's try that. So that means that if everything went well, if I do this, it goes to the first patrol point, take a look, and what it should do is detect that it's not an actor, and then move to the next one. And that's how it should work. It should move from one patrol point to the next one to the next one. Now, if I'm in the way, here's the beautiful thing. If I collide with it like this, right, then as soon as I do that, it should kind of come right at me, right, and kind of collide with me. As soon as I collide with that, or if it senses me, it changes the radius to me. That's what it does. Wonderful. That's great. All right, so we've done patrolling. So compile, save, let's save all. So we've added patrolling into the thing. Let's put this up on DevOps. We're almost done. Git add dot git commit minus all, and we'll say added drone patrolling. Okay. All right, let's go back to my PowerPoint here. So, taking damage from the player. We can change the attribute component for each object. The player's attribute component is like, now that the drone has an attribute, we can change it. So start by changing the properties of the attribute component as shown. So instead of it having 100 health, the drone's only going to have 50 health or 25 health or whatever you want it to be. The damage is still going to be 25. So let's do that. So back to the drone, if I look at the attributes, it has 100, 150, and 25. Let's change this to 50. So this is kind of like not the main drone. We can make this so it has like only 50 health max, and the ammo is going to be 0. It doesn't have any ammo, but it does have 25 damage. So compile and save. From a player perspective, though, right, and this is something where we can change the player. We also have attributes. It has 100 and 100. Ammo is 50, but damage, maybe the damage for the player is only something like 10 or something lower. Let's see what I have in mind, right? I think it's going to be probably lower than 25, maybe something like 10. So every time you hit the drone, it's going to only do 10 damage, right, from your rifle, right? Because you can hit the drone with a bunch of hits, right? So 5 hits will destroy a drone now, as opposed to 4 hits before. All right, so that's what it goes there. Let's also create a take damage function and configure it as shown. This is for the drone's health. All right, so we haven't done that drone health drop anymore. Let's do that. So back to the drone. I want to make a take damage function. Take damage. It's definitely going to be a combat function, right? Which is also going to have a damage amount. So I'm going to go here, add a damage amount, and it's going to be of type float. So that's the damage that it's going to take from the damage amount. I'm also going to add a sequence node here, right? So we can add a sequence node. So I can do more than one thing just to keep it compact. That's why I added the sequence node here. You can add sequence nodes when you want to make things happen in a certain order, but you can add them all here. Notice that this is very similar. So I can have attributes and all that stuff. This whole thing here is very familiar. It's from the player. Let's see if I can copy that. So back to the player. It also has a take damage function. And I have all of this for the most part. I want to take all this. And if I go back to the patrol point, to the drone and type it in, then all of that computes. Right, so damage amount, attributes, health, all that stuff is the same as what it is here. And what I want to do is I'm going to subtract 1, and I want to set the health. That's where it's different. So attributes. And I want to say set health. Now, I don't care about clamping because my drone will explode, right? So that's okay if I set health to this. That's going to be the new health amount. So I can reduce the health of the drone every time it gets hit. That's the first thing, okay? So this is subtract health every hit. That's what that is. I may have said that different in the PowerPoint, that's fine. And then on the bottom, what I want to do is I want to check if health is at or below 0, and if so, explode. So then I'll say, all right, well, so this is a reroute node, add reroute. And then if I take my attributes, and if I get health, get health, get health, this one for my node, and if my health is less than or equal to 0, so less than or equal to 0, right? That means like I'm dead. This drone is going to die, right? And if that's true, branch. Then what do I want to do? I want to do all that stuff that I did last time, but I'm going to replace what I had compared to what I'm doing now. So the first thing I want to do is I want to play the explosion. So play my explosion, right? Then play the explosion sound, right? That's the second thing that's going to happen because I'm going to explode, and then destroy the actor. So destroy actor. There it is. Okay, so that's kind of the same sequence that I had before when you fire at the drone, but now I have this part, and that really is check if health is below 0, and if so, explode. So whole thing, check if health is below 0, at or below 0, at or below 0. If so, explode. Okay, and you can make these comments quite colorful, but I recommend, again, keep them so that they're use comments in your game, guys. Like when you make your own game, don't just like, you know, put a bunch of nodes in place. You want people to work together, you know, to kind of push forward on this. So you want to understand what everyone's doing. Okay, so now that I've got the take damage, I want to replace my event any damage with this. So going back to the event graph, event any damage is up here. We had this, so I'm going to remove all this, and I'm just going to put in take damage, which is of type damage, like this. So now this is the new and improved take damage amount from my player. So if I copy paste and press play, and if I fire at the drone, there it is. Finally, well, it actually exploded the wrong way. So we did that, but it only does 1 damage because remember my player right now only does 1 damage. So we need to change that. So how do I do that? In the player, when they apply damage, we have to change this up here. So let's do that. So going back to the player, one more last change. I know I'm running a little bit late, but you'll be cool in a second. I'm going to go to the player, right? And when the player applies damage, and that happens on when I do a line trace, here's my line trace. Here's where I apply damage. I apply 1 damage. 1 damage is not going to be enough now. My drone has 50 health, so it's going to take me like 50 hits for me to kill that thing. So I don't want to do that. Instead, what I want to do is I want to apply more damage by pulling in my attributes damage. So for me to do that, all I have to do is take attributes and then get damage. And what I want is make some more room. So I'll kind of expand these a little bit, just to move them over a little bit to make some room here. And I'm going to pop this over here and then connect that in there. So now my player is going to do the proper damage that they can do, 10 damage per hit, not 1 damage per hit. Why this is good? I don't have to come in here and it's not hard-coded. I can always just change my attributes over here and change the damage that I'm going to do to adjust it to the difficulty that I want. So if I pick up a different rifle, I can change my damage here, as an example. Right now, my rifle does, 10 damage a hit, as opposed to just 1 damage a hit. Let's try this out again. So 5 hits, right? So we can say 1, 2, 3. I missed. Missing. There it is. And now it actually works properly. And I can see the explosion and everything else. Why can I see the explosion? Here's something. I play the sound first before I play the explosion, which is that millisecond of time that I need to make the explosion happen. And I can do that without using a timer at all, which is something we could have done last time. All right, so that's I can now do damage to the drone. The drone takes damage and has health. Like before, we've applied that. And going back to the PowerPoint, that is really my last slide. So what I'm going to do here is put this up on DevOps. So we're going to say git add dot, git commit -m, and we're going to say player, sorry, drone has health. Drone has health, which is what it has. And yeah, I could have done a couple pushes here, but that's fine. One thing now is the last part I want to talk about before I let you guys all go is this part, which is you to do. All right, so now this is you on your own. I'm not doing this, right? So please pay attention to what I'm going to show you here, because this is what you need to do for this, for full marks for your in-class exercise 4. All right, prep. You need to create something called an enum in C++. Okay, so let's do that part together. I'm going to give you this one as free. All right, let's do that together. So how do I create an enum in C++? If you don't know Visual Studio, this can be quite challenging. So let's do it together. So back in C++, right? What I want to do is I want to right click here on FPS Starter Project, right here. Okay, right click. I want to add new item. Add new item. The new item is going to pull up this thing. It might show you this little compact view like this. Take a look. It might show you this little compact view, right? If I add new item, right? So again, what I did was I right clicked on my FPS Starter Project like this. Right click, add new item. Try this out. It's going to show you this little compact stuff. I don't want this little compact stuff. Let's do show all templates. Click that little button. It's going to bring you here. I want to create for C++ a .h. That's what it's going to be, a .h. And let's call this, it's going to be called, in this file name, we're going to call this pickup type. Okay, pickup type. So let's do that. So pickup type. Okay, now here's the trick. And I want to tell you this straight up. You will fail every time to make your pickup type if you leave it here. See this location? It's wrong. It's always wrong, no matter what you do. What you want to do here is you want to select or browse to another location. You want to go up to ICE4. That's what you want to do here. And I want to go down into source, into FPS project. And that's my new thing. So the location is this, source, FPS starter project. And I kind of said that here. Source, FPS starter project. If it's something else other than this, this is no good. All right, it's got to be in source, FPS starter project. Then if I press add, it's going to add it right here, okay? That's where it's going to add it, right? And it's also going to be adding that in the operating system as well. It's very tricky, okay? Then what I want to do is add this. So it's uenum, so it's uenum, which is of blueprint type, okay? And what we want to do is create a new enum class called ePickupType of uint8, right? So we're going to type enum class of ePickupType. Look, it's even picking it up, of uint8. That's the type. Inside that, we're going to have the following parameters: ept_none, right? And we're going to say umeta is going to be display none, okay? That's what it's going to be. And then we're going to ept of ammo, and I'll talk about what ept means, ammo. And we're going to say umeta, where we're going to display, the display name is going to be ammo. Okay, display name, if I can type display name. Don't worry about the errors if you're going to get these. If you get these errors, ignore. I want to explain this. EPT stands for ePickupType. EPT_none. EPT_ and so on. Blueprint type. Did I do blueprint type properly? uenum. I did uenum. Yeah, it has these weird things sometimes where it doesn't pick up what this is, right? It doesn't know what that is. Just ignore it. It's going to work, okay? And then the last one is EPT health, which is health. So basically what this does is creates a little enum. An enum, have you guys used enums before? Yeah, so what this is just an enum. And now what I want is save all, and we can't use it unless we close down Unreal Engine. So let's do that. So I want to make sure that the Unreal Editor is closed. So we're going to File, Save All, and we're going to close the Unreal Editor, and then we're going to Control F5, which is going to relaunch everything. E pickup type. And if it succeeds, look, it succeeded even with all these errors. Don't worry about the errors, okay? If you get them, it's fine, okay? So why did I add this? Because you need it in the next piece. You need it. It's an enum. So you're going to make a new pickup type. There's going to be 2 pickup types, right? One of them is going to be, and this is all going to be in C++, an actor type that's going to be called FPS pickup, right? It's all in C++. So now that I've got this, by the way to test this is if I say something like, here, I want to make a variable of uenum. If I say something like pickup type, I'm just typing it in to show you. I'm not going to use this right now. I'm going to remove it. But if I look here, if I type in e pickup type, take a look at how it shows up. It actually shows up e pickup type, right? If I did that, right? I'm not going to do that. I'm just showing you that it can work in blueprints, right? So I don't need that. I'm just going to delete it. But I wanted to show you that it now works. It functions. Like the new enum comes up. And that means that it has 3 values. It has none, so it's no pickup type. It has a health or ammo. Those are the 3 types. Which means I can differentiate the type of pickup to be either ammo pickup or a health pickup. Or none. No pickup. Okay? So compile and save. Let's make sure that everything is saved in Unreal Engine. And then do the next part. Right? So the next part that you want to do, right? You know, again, I've compiled and saved is in Unreal Engine, you're going to add a C++ class of type actor, and you're going to call it FPS pickup, right? I want you guys to try your best to follow the instructions, okay? I'm not going to tell you everything here, but I want you to read it and see what I mean, okay? Here's why. This week 4 is a preview of what your test is going to look like in week 6 or week 7, right? So if you lose a mark and you're on your in-class exercise 4, good, because this way we can talk about what I would have done to do all this stuff, right? But I want you to do it. This is a little quiz, if you will, on creating stuff that we've already done in class on your own. It's worth 2% of your final grade to do. Please pay attention to make this work the way it does, okay? I am not going to complete it, but all the details for what you need to do is right here. So improve the player, that's worth 2 marks if you follow along. Improving the drone takes 2 marks. We added patrolling and patrol points. For you to do, that's also worth 2 marks, and you're going to have this all ready tomorrow by midnight. All right? Any questions at all on what I'm looking for? One thing I will do for you guys is on the terminal, I'm going to push this up, this little thing. So I'm going to say git add dot, git commit -m, and we'll say added pickup type enum, right? Which is what we just did, git push. So we have that. So if you're going to use, if you wanted to compare my code to your code and you want to do that, it's fine. Here's what you cannot do. Please do not start. I'm telling you right now, do not start with what I just did in class exercise 4. I want you to step through it on your own, right? If you do, you'll get 0 and you'll be considered cheating. I want you to do it because on your test, you're doing it on your own and you have a time limit on when you can do this kind of stuff, right? So if you don't practice, bad things will happen. You will not be able to finish the test, and the test is worth 20% of your final grade, right? It would be very bad if you can't do it, which means you need to practice. Don't leave this to the last minute, guys. Every single time you come to class is an opportunity for you to practice with me and get comfortable with the tools so that when you do your test, you can finish it. It's doable. If you don't practice, the test will be undoable. I'm telling you right now, you will not be able to finish it. You'll be too slow. I can give you 10 hours and you won't be able to finish it, okay? You're only gonna have 3, not even. Because by the time I tell you what the test is, give you your paper in class, right? Because it's only gonna be an in-person test. So I'm gonna give it to you in class, like what are you gonna do? Here's all the details of what you're gonna do in class. And then you're gonna do it in class, and you have 2 hours and some, and then you're done, right? And there's a lot of issues here. You're reading the paper, it's not a PDF, right? You're going through it, and you're like, okay, I got to do this, and I got to. And if you don't understand what I'm asking, right, I'm going to be here to help. But if you still don't understand how to do stuff, I can't help you. It's a test. So that's why I need you to practice, and that's why I need you to try your best to follow the instructions I've given you here in this section, in the you to do section, because this is going to tell you all the stuff. For the most part, this is probably the most I'll give you on your test in terms of instructions. This is right here, right? So do this, do this, do this, add this. What does it look like? How come I do this? What is it, here's some examples of how you can do it and that kind of stuff. If there's anything new, as an example, then I'll talk about it. I'll say, hey, look, here's how you do this part, So please, do this. I am available for questions on Discord between today and tomorrow, right? But again, a lot of this is on you to do. So please try this out. Don't wait. This takes another half an hour or so to do it. Shouldn't take you that long, an hour maybe because it's new to you, right? And then just get her done, okay? All right, any questions from the people online? You guys are good? All right, I'm gonna stop recording now and, oh wait. All good, thanks Vincent. That's it for me. I'm gonna stop recording now and I'll see you guys next week. All right?